What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for the final college football playoff eliminator video of the 2020 season, because next Sunday, or this Sunday I should say, we are going to have our 4 playoff teams. We have one new elimination this week as the field continues to narrow. We have several teams still with a chance to make it in, but it kind of feels like we already know the 4 teams. But you never know. We might see some upsets, might see some chaos. We just saw a big upset this past Saturday, so that could continue. We'll have to wait and see. So let's get right into it. First of all, the teams that have already been eliminated, we've been updating this list throughout the season. As you can see, almost every team in college football at the FBS level is on this screen right here. There are not many teams remaining, but we're going to show you those teams. And we start with our first elimination, our only elimination of this week. A team that did not even play, and it's a team that really was eliminated when the rankings came out last week. That's the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati now has no path to the college football playoff. Being ranked behind Iowa State and being so close to Oklahoma tells me that a Big 12 champ will go ahead of Cincinnati. Texas A&M will stay ahead of Cincinnati unless they lose. Let's just look at this. Florida, Alabama. Best case scenario for Cincinnati. Alabama beats Florida, they take a spot. Notre Dame beats Clemson, they take a spot. Ohio State, if Ohio State gets upset by Northwestern, I think Northwestern would pass Cincinnati. So the Big 10 champ is going to be in there. That's 3 spots. Who's left? Let's say Texas A&M gets upset. That might open up a spot. Let's say, I'm just going down the list here. Oh, wait, there's the Big 12. So the Big 12 champ would get in, and there you go. So Cincinnati has no path. There is no path for them to get in. They have now been eliminated. Best case scenario, again, you would get in Alabama still. You would get in Notre Dame, and then you would get in the Big 10 and Big 12 champs. So there's no path for Cincinnati. In fact, I think, they could lose, but if USC were to win the Pac-12 championship, they're probably going to go ahead of Cincinnati. So don't be surprised if the Bearcats wind up outside the top 10 when this thing's all said and done. The committee has just not shown them any respect, and their resume doesn't look as good as it did because some of the teams that we thought, like SMU, were going to have top 25 type seasons have not necessarily stayed at that level, and so that's hurt their resume. But still, I don't think the committee was ever going to respect them. So anyways, Cincinnati now eliminated. Teams with 2 losses that are still alive. I just told you the path for Iowa State and Oklahoma. It's not that complicated. If Notre Dame beats Clemson again, it is very likely a 2-loss Big 12 champ will get into the college football playoff. Even if it comes down to Texas A&M and Iowa State or Oklahoma, I think the committee will put a Big 12 champ in there. They're going to be a conference champion, and the fact that Texas A&M lost by a wide margin to Alabama the first time, I don't know that they're going to want that rematch. So I don't know that you need Texas A&M to lose, but definitely to get in for sure, you need Texas A&M to lose, and then you would need Notre Dame to beat Clemson. So for Florida, it's kind of the same path. First of all, you got to beat Alabama. That's going to be the big test. And then you need, this one's a little bit tricky because I don't think Florida is going to pass Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to have to lose because they're not going to put Florida, a team that lost head-to-head to Texas A&M, ahead of Texas A&M. When you go back to a few years ago with Penn State and Ohio State, remember Penn State had 2 losses, won the Big 10, and they even had the head-to-head over Ohio State. They didn't get in. Ohio State did. And this scenario would be the same, except Texas A&M, the 1-loss team, actually has the head-to-head over Florida. So there's no chance Florida is passing Texas A&M unless the Aggies lose. So you got to hope for that, and you got to hope for Notre Dame to beat Clemson. And then the biggest thing of all, you got to beat Alabama, which is going to obviously be very, very difficult. How about 1 loss but still alive? We got Clemson, Northwestern, and Texas A&M. I don't know if Northwestern is still alive or not. I've been trying to figure out what the committee would do with them if they upset Ohio State. And I have to think that they would at least consider them because they would have a win over a great Ohio State team, a team that the committee has in the top 4. And they would also have that win over Iowa, a team that has continued to win. They only have 2 losses. They're a top 25 team. So there's a couple of really good wins there for Northwestern, but they would have the 1 loss. It's just hard for me to say what the committee would do. I kind of think they're out of it. They probably don't have a chance, but I don't know that for sure. So we're going to keep them in the still alive category. They should lose to Ohio State, though, and that'll take care of that. Clemson wins, and they're in. Texas A&M, I don't know if, again, I don't know exactly how that's going to go down. I think if it's between Texas A&M and a 2-loss Florida, they get in. But if it's between Texas A&M and a 2-loss Big 12 champ, I think they probably go with the Big 12 team. It's, again, very, very complicated when it comes to Texas A&M and trying to figure out what the committee is going to do. I know they're ranked where they are now, but they have to reevaluate this at the end and look at the whole body of work and also look at conference championships and all of that. So I don't know for sure where Texas A&M stands. Again, I don't know if the committee wants to put them in there against Alabama when they've already played and they were blown out. It's a tricky one. And again, we're just going to have to wait and see if it does come down to that. I know Aggie fans probably think, well, if Clemson loses to Notre Dame, we're going to get that number 4 spot because we're at number 5 now. But that's not really how it works. The committee does not just move teams up and down. They look at the whole body of work. And it'll also be interesting to see if Iowa State is right there behind them this week. If they're 1 spot behind them and they win the Big 12, I could see them passing Texas A&M potentially. But they're still alive for sure, which is a matter of what the committee is going to decide to do. Unbeaten contenders, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, these teams all still undefeated. And I think Alabama and Notre Dame have already locked up playoff spots. If Clemson beats Notre Dame, I still think the Irish are in. I think Alabama is in, even if they lose to Florida. Ohio State, on the other hand, has to win. They will have to beat Northwestern to still get in the playoff. And obviously, they are big favorites to do that. So if all the favorites went out, this is what I think the playoff bracket is going to look like. And the only thing that I'm not sure on is 3 and 4. So if Alabama wins, Clemson wins, they're going to be 1 and 2. Depending on how Notre Dame loses and how Ohio State wins, I think that could maybe change this. I think we could maybe see Notre Dame at 3, Ohio State at number 4. I've been saying this, and I know everyone talks about the rematch, and if you've watched the channel, I know I've said this probably 20 times. I don't know if a rematch is a bad thing in this scenario. We're talking about Clemson and Notre Dame because they played twice. They've played twice, and it would be like a rubber match. So and I know I've said this, would like to see that matchup. Clemson, Notre Dame a third time, break the tie. Unless Clemson blows them out. If Clemson blows them out, then I don't want to see that game again because that just tells me that Notre Dame only won the first game because of the players that were out. But if it's another close game, I'd love to see that one again. But I still think the committee probably puts Ohio State at number 3. They're going to add that win over Northwestern to their resume, and they'll be conference champions. So I think they probably go to number 3. Notre Dame drops to number 4. So I think that's what the bracket will look like if the favorites win out. If they don't, here's who is next in line. Texas A&M, I still think have the next best shot, but I don't really know. Maybe it's Iowa State or Oklahoma. That's an interesting discussion there if it does come down to a 1-loss Texas A&M and a 2-loss, say, Iowa State, who the committee really, really likes. We've seen that. So this one's tough for me. I don't know who would really have the top spot. I kind of think it would go towards the Big 12 team if Alabama stays at number 1, but and Alabama, if they win, will stay at number 1. But again, this one's a tough one. You could actually put 1A and 1B because I don't know what the committee would do. Again, I want to see where they're ranked this week. That'll possibly change who I think has the better shot there. And then Florida and Northwestern at 3 and 4. Northwestern, I don't know if a win even gets them in. Florida, same thing. They're going to need some help as well. But the biggest reason why I put that line, and I say that Florida and Northwestern really aren't contenders, is because I just don't see them winning their games. Their conference championship games. I don't see Florida beating Alabama, and I really don't see Northwestern beating Ohio State. But anything can happen. It's college football. It's 2020. We saw, obviously, a huge upset last week. Maybe Florida just was already preparing for Alabama. Maybe they're going to have some stuff prepared to where they have a chance to knock off Alabama, and they were just overlooking LSU, and we shouldn't read too much into that upset. I don't know. We'll find out this weekend, obviously, and then Sunday we're going to find out who makes the college football playoff and where they are ranked. But again, this is the final playoff eliminator video of the season. It's been a lot of fun breaking down this playoff race, which has been definitely interesting. We talked about that Florida Florida loss to LSU, shaking up the playoff race. Well, if they don't beat Alabama, it really didn't matter. They weren't going to get in if they lost to Alabama, so that may not have really affected the playoff race at all when you think about it like that. But we're going to get the new rankings tonight. The new playoff rankings will come out tonight, and I will do a reaction video following that. Let you know what I think about what the committee did this week. And if you want to see my projections for what the committee will do this week, just go back to yesterday's video. I did a playoff projection video, playoff rankings projection video, and also gave my top 25. So make sure you check that out. Watch for our reaction later tonight. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.